everybody, welcome to the Bare Minimum Initiative. The recent happenings in Maharashtra with the Shiv Sena government facing internal dissent from its own MLAs has yet again brought the anti-defection law to our attention. Let us now look at the nuances of the anti-defection law. So why did we need anti-defection law in the first place? During the 1967 elections, a lot of state governments toppled due to the party hopping of MLAs, that is the shifting of MLAs from one party to the other. To prevent this and to provide stability to the government, the anti-defection law was framed and was placed in the 10th schedule through the 52nd Constitutional Amendment Act. The Prime Minister during that time was Rajiv Gandhi. So what is provided in the Act? The Act states the conditions in which a Member of Parliament can be disqualified based on the grounds of defection. There are two grounds mentioned in the Act. The first ground is that voluntarily giving up membership. If they are an elected member and if they voluntarily give up their membership or they move to a different party, they are subject to disqualification. In case of an independent member, if they join any political party after being a member of the parliament, they are subject to disqualification based on anti-defection. And in case of a nominated member, if they join any political party after the expiry of 6 months, they are subject to disqualification. The second ground is that violating the directions of a whip. Every political party has its own party whip. If a member of parliament abstains from voting, that is, they do not vote or vote against the direction of the party whip, they are subject to disqualification based on anti-defection. So how is the anti-defection law taken up? The anti-defection law can be taken up only through petition by another member. There is no suo motu action of anti-defection. The deciding authority in the anti-defection law is the presiding officer of the House. It can be the Speaker when it comes to Lok Sabha, or it can be the Chairman if it's the Rajya Sabha. Earlier, the decision of the presiding officer was deemed to be final. But in 1992, after the Quixote-Holland case, the decision of the presiding officer is subject to judicial review. There are some exceptions given in the anti-defection law. The first exception is that of a merger. But the merger should be in such a way that 2/3 of the members have agreed upon it. The next exception is with regard to the presiding officer. If a person is elected to be the presiding officer of the House and they voluntarily give up their membership, or if they rejoin after they cease to hold the office, it does not amount to disqualification in terms of anti-defection. This is provided to maintain dignity and impartiality in the House. Earlier, there was another exception provided in terms of split with regard to 1/3 members of the House. But after 91st Constitutional Amendment Act, this was removed. So now if 1/3 members decide to split, it does amount to disqualification under anti-defection. So what is the present relevance of the anti-defection law? India being a multi-party democracy, the legislators can easily switch over from one party to the other, causing instability. The anti-defection law ensures stability to the government. In the recent days, there is an increase of criminalization of politics. So what is criminalization of politics? Criminals provide money and muscle power to the politicians. So the politicians try to favor them in return to gain their patronage. The anti-defection law prevents this by making the politicians being loyal to the party and ensuring party discipline. Money power always plays a major role in elections. It leads to horse trading of legislators. Horse trading of legislators means gaining the support of MP or MLA from another party by giving them certain perks. The anti-defection law prevents this. When there is a strong central government with brute majority at the center, they have the chances of swaying the state parties by using state machineries and money power. The anti-defection law helps in upholding the federalism of our country. Then it also upholds the people's mandate. The people usually vote for a person because they belong to a certain party, in believing the party's election manifesto. The anti-defection law prevents a person from switching over parties, thereby upholding the people's mandate. India being a welfare state, in case of instability, the government would keep changing frequently, and this will lead to policy paralysis. Now we will look into the criticism of the anti-defection law. The range of provision in itself is a criticism. The anti-defection law applies to all the houses and to every issues that are up for vote. For example, the Rajya Sabha and the Legislative Council do not play any role in the stability of the government, but they also come under the anti-defection law. And the MP or MLA does not have any freedom to voice their opinion. It curbs the freedom of speech and expression. There is no difference between dissent and disagreement provided in the anti-defection law. There is a chain of accountability that exists in a representative democracy. The chain being the government is accountable to the legislators. This is what we study as the executive being responsible to the parliament, and in turn the legislators are accountable to the voters. This chain is being broken by the anti-defection law, as it makes the legislators merely accountable only to their party and the party's decisions. So, when the chain is being broken and the voters question the legislators, they have a ready-made answer saying it was the party's decision. So, it negates the legislators from having to justify themselves and their decisions to the voters. It also causes eroding of legislatures. The core role of an MP or MLA is to decide and examine the credibility of a bill or a policy depending on whether it's good for the people or not. This is being sidelined because of the anti-defection law. The anti-defection law to an extent even goes against the ideals of the founding fathers of our democracy. B.R. Ambedkar, while framing the constitution, chose parliamentary form over presidential form because it offers more accountability than stability. Accountability is ensured through everyday questions and motions. Also, our political setup has found a way around the anti-defection law to cause instability. They use resignations instead of defections to cause instability in the government. Thank you. Hope you have an understanding of the topic. Let's meet again with a different topic another time.